Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and today I am playing along with the 12 days of Christmas for Trinity Stamps. Today's theme is New Year's, but I don't really have a lot of New Year's stuff. So I thought let's grab some of my very favorite supplies and turn them into a New Year's card. This first die set is the Rainbow die set. And I used a bunch of scraps of specialty cardstock and just cut out a bunch of them. Then I have the big Celebrate cut and foil. So you can cut the Celebrate and a shadow, or you can foil the Celebrate and cut it out with the shadow. And I have cut a whole bunch of those, one from gold foil, a bunch from craft, and then a shadow from vellum. I thought I was going to use this set to use the Happy New Year. It's a sentiment for almost everything and the coordinating dies, but I ended up not using that. But I did use the holiday tag helper. There's a Happy New Year. We're putting that on the inside. You can really make almost the entire card without any particular New Year's themed products. Finally, I'm using this abstract scratch background stamp. I bought this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I am obsessed. It's just so beautiful in embossing powder. I'm using gold today on a really dark gray cardstock. So I'm going to add some anti-static powder all over that. And then I am just going to ink this up super well in some VersaMark embossing ink. Any embossing ink will work here. And then I'll press that firmly. Ideally, I'll get it done in one pass. And so then the trickiest part, I think, was picking it up on the edges and making sure I didn't stick my fingers in anything. But once I get that all powdered up, I'll tap off the excess, and then I let my embossing tool get pretty hot, my heat gun get pretty hot, before I brought that to the paper to try to cut down on the warping. In the end, I'm popping up this panel with a little bit of foam tape, so that will help if there is any warping in the end. To get rid of that excess anti-static powder, I'm just using a microfiber cloth, and I just rub all over the top of it pretty well, and that takes care of it. So here is the Rainbow die, and in this particular white one, it's some white glitter cardstock. I cut out the whole thing because I know I'll use that, and then I just used little strips of other specialty cardstock, like whatever was left over that fit on there, and I cut those out. And then I numbered them because sometimes I wasn't cutting out all 7 of the bows or the stripes. If you watch my videos, you know I love cardstock strips. I use them a ton. And so this is just like a fancy cardstock strip. I did on the back of the die number them 1 through 7 because they aren't all the same. On this card, I'm cutting the excess off once I glue this to the panel, but I have excess pieces, and I want to make sure that if I went to go put this together and I was going to use it top to bottom, I would know how to line them up without it being some kind of crazy puzzle game that I felt like I was losing. So again, on the backs of all my paper strips, I've also numbered it 1 through 7. Then I have a piece of like mint tape, Post-it tape behind those bows just to kind of get my placement and keep all of them right next to each other. I'm checking to see if the Celebrate's going to fit like I think it will, and it does. So then I will position the bows on top of my panel, and I took a clear sticky grid mat and I tucked it right into the corner of my embossed panel. That way, when I pick it up, I know exactly where to put it back down again to get the same placement. It's also holding all of those bows at the same time. So I'm adding my glue, I'll flip it over, and you can see I'm tucking the corner of that sticky mat to the bottom left corner of my embossed panel. And that's it, right? I just press firmly, I peel it off really carefully. You could let it sit a little longer if you wanted, really give that glue a chance to grab on, but I'm impatient. So I was just careful. And then I'll flip it over and use my scissors to trim off any of that excess. And now I have this really cool stripe pattern going through my card. I love this. You could do this in a variety of colors. I actually bought this one because I wanted to do like a Christmas themed one and do like red and pink and green into teal across my bows. And then you can grab a different sentiment. They have these oversized cut and foil sentiments in a bunch of different greetings. So there's a season's greetings that I love, a hello, an Easter, a thanks. The thanks is absolutely beautiful. But you know, whatever you have, and then that helps put together a really quick card for you. I stacked up my Celebrate 3 times. So that gold foil cardstock is super thin, but then I have 2 layers of some heavyweight craft cardstock. It's a craft I've had in my stash for a long time. I don't really like the look of it, but from the side, it appears nearly the same color as that gold, and so it blends in really, really well. I'm going to take this holiday tag helper Happy New Year, and I'm going to stamp this on the inside. So I just have an A2 card in landscape, and I've definitely folded it in half so I can get my placement just right. And then I will add some anti-static powder and stamp it in VersaMark ink and add that same gold embossing powder that we have on the front of the card. I let my heat tool get really, really hot. Like I let it run for about 45 seconds before I went to melt that embossing powder because I wanted to make sure I cut down on the warping as much as possible. Then I just used a soft white eraser to remove the excess anti-static powder in the end, and you can't even tell it was there. I've added some black foam tape all over the back because remember there was a little bit of warping on this panel, plus I like the dimension of popping it up. And then I'll add some wet glue just to help me wiggle it into place. I cut it down so that I have this 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, and sometimes I struggle with that. So I will press that firmly, and that finishes up our card. This is it. So I'm going to open this up. I'll show you the inside. I have tons of sparkle and shine. I feel like it's super fun for the new year. I hope this inspires you to make a New Year's card, even if you don't have any New Year's products at all. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.